Hi, Pat.
Hey, Chris, how's it going?
Great, great. It's good to see you
Good.
again.
Thank you. Same here,
I'm
Chris.
looking
Right.
forward to another exciting conversation about Holy Compost.
Yes, yes, yes. There is always something for the compost. So I think we agreed that we'd open today with my sharing a little bit about a well, it's Monday through Friday meditation offered by a fellow named Panache Desi. That's Panachedesi. And it's you can sign up for it online. And then the Zoom link will be sent, and just about anybody could, get on there. He has a bunch of people that sign in every day, Monday through Friday, and he actually starts at 8:30. Has a little bit of a talk till close to 9, and then at 9 he offers 20 minutes of silent meditation, and then talks a bit more too. But the thing that attracts me to it is this desire, longing, desperation, I would even say, to honor my experience of the fleeting humanity. By that I mean, we are supposed to sort of be on some sort of surface and never get down to what's down beneath. And I'm longing, as many are, including yourself, Chris, to have authentic connection and communication in ways that we're not finding a lot of. And that's for a lot of different reasons. But this fellow, today, his message was about being a human being, and then I'm not sure exactly how he said it, but he said something like, we're letting everyone, or we're letting the world determine who we are, and the world will do that for us, or we could be or become the caretaker of our humanity. And I was like, wow, that is just so right on. That's it. That's what I want to do. And and not only is it what I want to do, it's my responsibility. And he really drummed that home, that if we're waiting for somebody else to come along and be the caretaker of our humanity, we are going to be waiting a heck of a long time. So it's up to us as individuals to stand up and shine and claim our humanity. And then the other term that I think we talked about briefly earlier was that this is a reclamation or a reclaiming of our sovereignty. Wow. Wow, I can do that? Really? I have permission? You don't need permission, he says. No permission is needed. If you're waiting for permission, no, that's not, no. Of course, that's that training, you wait in line. You get a number, what's your number? 5,555,000 million. Oh, you? No, back away.
Not your turn yet.
That's right. Yeah, no, that number hasn't, actually, you missed that number. It was called. Now you have to wait for
Now
us
you
to
have to
go
go to the
around.
back of the line. It's
Exactly.
funny, but it's not funny at all. It's tragic because we are in this culture. I'll speak for myself.
Sure.
I do feel a pull towards not reclaiming my sovereignty.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel a pull to follow the crowd.
Tell
Find
me.
out what the crowd wants
Yep.
from me, and then I'm gonna do that. If now the my interior voice is telling me something very different. So I do have an agitation there, which is a blessing, right?
Sure.
Yeah. But anyway, I interrupted you. Why don't you finish what you were going to say?
No, I think I was done. I think a question I had for you is, because you mentioned this just now, is why, so what is getting in the way, for you or any of us, that we cannot, we're afraid to we're afraid to claim our sovereignty.
Yes.
What is that? What
That's
what
that.
is, I mean,
That is
yep.
such an important question, and I think we all need to ask that. I think there are a couple of things going on, and I'm not a professional in this field at all. I just have my own little observations.
Okay, that's okay.
Um, so I think that it's sort of an innate human need to be part of a group, part of part of a tribe.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
We're herd animals. If you like, I've studied dogs and horses. They're both, the herd and the pack. If a horse, like for instance, I'll divert because it's important. I'll divert a little
yeah, yeah.
bit. The alpha mare in a horse herd is the boss,
Mm,
not the male, but the female. And she is always looking around to see what's going on. Is there any danger in the area? Is so and
mm,
so misbehaving? And if she decides that, the pinto in the back was not behaving very well, he is ostracized to the outside of so there's a herd,
mm-hmm,
and
yeah.
then the pinto who was misbehaving is over here by himself. Okay. When you're by
Mm-hmm,
yourself and you're a horse in the wild, you are vulnerable to predators.
sure.
If you're with the herd will, you know, work to get the predator away from you and will be intimidating.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
So we are herd animals, and we need each other. We can't get by without one another. And especially in this day and age we're living in right now, which has no remote facsimile to the beginning of humanity. I mean, it's just amazing that we're still doing some of the same stuff. So I think that it's very, very deeply ingrained in us over millions of years
yeah.
that we need one another to survive.
Right,
And
right.
I think that that is a piece of the conformity problem.
Sure, sure.
Uh, Um, we and so what happens is when we're not aware or awake of what's going on, we're just in a conformity mode. We 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 look at what other people are doing, we imitate them, which is normal. When a child is growing up, they do a lot of imitating.
Yep.
um and unless you have a good role model somewhere in your life that is authentic, it's gonna be a lot more difficult to distinguish between the I don't want to say robot, but you kind of get the message. Do I want to be a robot, or do I want to be a magnificent miracle that God has blessed the world with? And that's not egocentric. I think that's true of everyone. I think that everyone is a magnificent miracle that God has blessed the world with.
Mhm.
And we the only thing the our only job is to uncover that and let it bloom. So, but we're on our own, aren't we?
Yeah,
We're on
yeah.
our own with that. I mean, I got a tiny bit of that in my family, but not a lot. Um, I got some of it because I chose friends who were really authentic. So that was really a blessing, but I didn't really have a roadmap.
Right, right.
And it was just probably in my early 60s or late 50s that I got this. Uh, it was really a divine message that I really had to work on my own authenticity, my own truth, and that I had, and then when I was in my 60s, and really got the message very strongly, I realized that this is what I was put here for. I was put
Yeah.
here to deliver this message of authenticity.
Yeah.
So it's really something that I think about a lot. There are very, very few mentors in this arena. There are some, but very
Mhm.
few. And so there are other things to contribute to this. I mean, I think physical and emotional safety is a big thing that makes us conform.
Sure.
Um, and so what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what you're saying. I'm also aware that there is a growing number of people who are making their own compost piles, and talking about things. When you spoke about the herd, I agree. We are herd animals. There's one difference between us and the horses and all the rest of the herds, is that we have an awareness for a big awareness or a tiny awareness, or maybe the awareness is pretty silenced, that there's something more to this life than just staying in the herd. I was thinking about, when you said the herd, I was picturing the Pied Piper and all of the mice, I think it was, going off the cliff, because they were going to be in the herd. I mean, it just came like a picture quick. And, it's kind of like that's what I'm seeing a bit of when I see, and we said we're going to stay away from like the insurrection, excuse me, pardon me. No comparison between the resurrection. They just got that erection thing on the end of it there. So I see that we do have that herd animal mentality. And of course, that's sort of our great undoing in some ways, because it takes like a tipping point for some of the herd to say, no, we're not going to listen to the old mayor anymore. There's a new mayor in town, and she's saying we should go over that way. And so, that's how things evolve and things grow and change. So I think we have some stand-up people who are not afraid to go against the grain and to leave the herd and say, what, I'm going to be the caretaker of my humanity, because I'm the only one that can do that, actually. Nobody can do it for me.
What do you think that might look like on a day-to-day basis?
Lots of loneliness, unfortunately. Unfortunately, lots of loneliness. And you have to balance that out, because it's true what you're saying. We do have that herd thing going on, where when we get with people, like even you and I getting together right now, this is a small herd, but it is a sense that, oh, this is a sense of belonging and meaning, and we really need that. On the other hand, I'm finding myself less and less able to visit certain people and sit with them for I can visit anyone for 10 or 15 minutes or something, maybe a half hour. But to really get involved in anything of any depth or weight, I it's just not that available. So yeah, so what's it mean? It means loneliness, but it also means something very positive, and that is that it does give, I'll just keep it for myself here, it gives me a chance to slow down, to quiet down, and to start hearing this other part of me, this more contemplative part of me that every once in a while these little beautiful messages come through. These little quiet little messages, like, it's going to be okay. Like, I'll be like, what? Who said that? It's going to be okay. And well, it must be me that's saying it, right? Well, I don't know if it's me, but something says it's going to be okay. And when I'm out there rattling around and trying to using an old expression, keep up with the Joneses, which is really not that. It's just like, where do I belong again? Who, what tribe am I in? So I'm in my tribe, I'm in my tribe.
Mm.
And that feels lonely sometimes. Then I get with you, Chris, and I say, oh, there's somebody else that's sort of in my tribe or is part of my tribe, is my kin. And then I'm like, yeah, okay, right. Boy, is that a really nice feeling, a real boost. I mean, I know both of us look forward to this, whether we're saying anything of any value to anyone else. I mean, that'd be great. That'd be nice if it helps others. But I think our main purpose is to exchange our energy of love for one another and the greater good. So yeah, we broke away from it. We told that mayor to take a hike.
The one little postscript on the mayor thing with the herd.
Yeah,
There is constantly a competition for the alpha mare's position, and it does change.
sure.
So
Yeah,
I just
interesting.
I love looking at animals and how they behave, because they don't have any of the social stigma.
Construct.
Maybe they do have social stigma. I don't know, but it doesn't appear that it appears that it's all DNA.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, so
yeah.
so yeah, I think what I observe now that I'm in this sort of calling, if you will, um, to meditate on the importance of authenticity and true self, and to kind of just dig into it deeply every day.
Mm-hmm.
I do observe that there is so much caution in a social
From people.
situation
Yeah.
that people, I pick up on stuff, and I may be misinterpreting people, but if I'm not misinterpreting them, there's a lot of caution about exposing ourselves, exposing
Mm,
this authenticity.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
I see it. I just saw it yesterday. I was in a meeting, and a church meeting, and great people, and I sensed there were several moments of real caution about not revealing too much about myself. Well,
Mm.
for me, but also with other people. I could, and of course I may have been misreading that, but that was what my instincts told me. So
I think you're probably right on.
yeah, so we have this miraculous truth in each one of us that has never been before and will never be again. It'll only be there'll only be one Pat, and during your lifetime, and you will never happen again, and you've never been here before, and the same thing with me. So I feel this urgency to peel away the coverings of my inauthenticity, which I definitely have, to let the authenticity um, feed my little world. And
Mm-hmm.
how does that happen? I don't know, but it does. Um, you know, um, I all I know is that when I speak to people I love, and all the people I love are authentic, it always feeds me. It always enlivens me. It pulls me up. Um, I think about it after I'm away from them. It's a priceless gift, I think, that we give each other, is our own truth.
I would agree. I would
Mm.
agree. And I was picturing that scene that of sitting around talking with others in a meeting or just however it happens. And I definitely have had this same experience of because I can go either way in those kinds of groups. I can get very cautious and suspicious and buy into the energy of that. And it could happen again, but what I'm hoping I can do, and I've done in those situations, is to somehow be my authentic self and let the chips fall where they may. What does that mean? That means the very real possibility that after the meeting, people are going to say, did you, yada, yada, what Pat said? I mean, where's she coming from? Or whatever. Whatever that, if that happens, that's not my business in some ways. It's just not my business. So that's what I try to remember. Fear, that's fear. It's the energy of fear that says, well, it says a million things, but one is, don't draw attention to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
This could be dangerous. I mean, it really, like, this could be dangerous. It's like, like it's cloak and dagger to say, I don't think we should have a soda machine in the, I don't think we should have a soda machine in the hallway. I mean, maybe that's a silly one, but until we, and Panache, I think, would agree with this, until we become unafraid to be our authentic selves, no matter where we happen to find ourselves, we're perpetuating the same thing, and we're just doing that. We're just doing it. We're doing what we don't like, and so. I think that's what you and I have had a discussion about. We don't particularly like committees because there's where the rubber meets the road, where it's like, you've overheard the after meeting talk and you're like, what? My goodness gracious, that's what they got from the meeting, that so-and-so said that and that. I thought we were there to try to solve some problems. So gee, we just have to move out of the fear place, and into our authentic being. And boy, that's no easy shift to make, is it?
No, it's not. And I think it can take a long time. It can take decades to have it be an integral part of how we move in the world. And for me, it's taken decades, but I think that the time that it's taken, every minute of it has been worth it. And
Yeah,
I would never go back. So at the same time that I started thinking about my authentic self, which I believe was a very deep spiritual awakening in me, I also started meditating. And so that was in my probably in the 90s. It's probably in my 40s or so. And so when I started to meditate, I was very, very slowly, incrementally calming the excitable inner voice in me, and doing more listening.
Mm-hmm.
Now, again, it was like the drip method, drip,
yeah,
drip, drip. So kind of painfully slowly, but there's no other way to do it. I don't think there's no other way to grow.
I think you're right.
Than to do it slowly. And it's been worth it.
Yeah. The only
okay, you cut out. So the only thing, start from there.
Oh yeah, no, I would say there's exceptions to the drip method. I think that's the most common. So for me, I'm thinking about how I, ended up in AA over 30 years ago, and in certain particular meetings where people were really talking about taking these steps and really taking them, experiencing them, not having an opinion about them, but actually having an experience with a step. And so what I was hearing at those meetings, what were people talking in this revealing, authentic way about who they were and where they had been and where they are now.
Let me
And
just
it was
interrupt.
like, sure.
Let me just interrupt by telling people that if they want to find out what the 12 steps are, they can just Google the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. And it's well worth, it's a
Absolutely.
jewel. It's a jewel. Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
It's a total, no, that's fine. It was almost like I was sitting in someone's living room, and cousin so and so and aunt so and so, and we're all revealing these parts of themselves that they never did, that they never really ever did, and now they're all assembled in this big living room, and they're all relaxed and they're all trusting of one another, and to harken back to what we said earlier, what's said in these rooms stays in these rooms. And that's really an important piece, because that gives people the permission and the safety to reveal these very deep experiences of pain and joy. And it was just so once having that experience and then being able to do the same myself, that sort of changed my platform, where I come from. And so I will pull those things in when I can see to speak like I was at a 12-step meeting at the church council may not go over great. So I can obviously, you have a dial, better put down the authenticity dial down to 0.5, and just talk about the subject of whatever it might be, and not really come from any place that has my heart, because that's what we're talking about, Chris. I think we're talking about the fact that we have been culturated, I guess the word is, to keep the heart the heck out of it, man. I don't want to know about your heart. It's too complicated.
Well, and also, if you talk about your heart, then I'm going to have to mess around with my heart, and I don't want to touch that.
Oh, that's the ball game. That's strike one.
Because
Yes,
it is a
for sure.
viral thing. When I notice when I'm in meetings, 12-step meetings, um, sometimes people are more transparent than others. And I'm a big
Yes.
transparent person. So, I learned at the age of 15 in Alateen that, very young age, that not only was it okay to be vulnerable, but nothing bad happened to me and only good things happened to me. So I had this reward every Wednesday night at those meetings. And my mother was in AA at the same time. So, and she was pretty aware, but the AA program took a kind of an uptight academic mother and turned her into much more soft, receptive, open-minded,
Hmm.
um, and and awake. I mean, she woke up
Right,
as people
right.
do in the program. Um,
Which brings us to that thing that we hear, that people are sleeping. It's not a great way of saying it, but people are a great majority of people prefer to stay asleep. Maybe prefer isn't the right word. Are afraid to wake up.
well,
What it
also, I
might
think
mean.
there's some kind of gravitational pull towards staying asleep. And even though I consider myself, I'm awake enough in my life so that I don't think I'm asleep anymore, but I do fall asleep every day, fall asleep uh, psychically fall asleep, spiritually fall.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely. And yeah, go ahead.
I
Sorry.
spend a lot of my time sort of robotically walking around, getting the stuff done, not, thinking embarrassing thoughts that are judgmental and trite. And uh, boy, that's another thing that just blew my reality to pieces, was when I started monitoring my thoughts. And it is extremely humbling to and
Absolutely.
and I've been doing this now for, I don't know, maybe close to 10 years, 8 or 10 years. Um, and I'm gonna tell you, it gets more and more humbling the more I do it. And but the humility is a good thing for me, because it puts me in, it puts me in right order with God. So I'm not in charge of everything. I'm not in control of everything.
Right.
We have in my faith, and I don't subscribe to a particular religion, but my experience of my spirituality tells me that, God is in charge. And sometimes things look really bad, because of what God theoretically is doing, and I don't have a clue about it,
Mhm,
but I know that
mhm,
I'm not in charge.
mhm,
And it's
mhm.
such a huge relief to not be in charge. I can't even express how much of a relief it is that I'm not in charge of this universe. So I don't know how I
Well,
got to that,
yeah,
but
no, that's excellent. And what you said was excellent and right on. I've been like wanting to say that, I want to be very careful about being pejorative around asleep and awake, because like you just said, a great part of the time I'm totally asleep. And I'm not talking about in the nighttime. I'm talking about now. And that always is the foundation of that is fear. So I get fearful about something and I'm going to go to sleep. And again, harkening back to become the caretaker of your humanity, reclaim your sovereignty. It's when I'm up against it, and it's time for me to do that. It's time for me to claim my sovereignty. It's time for me to be the best caretaker I can for my spirit and my life. And I'm like, oh, wait a second, this no, I'm gonna have to bow out here. And this, by the way, is when I'm by myself. I mean, certainly it happens when other people are around, but I myself can corner myself in such a way and be so judgmental and unforgiving, and I will be okay. I'll just scurry away to some corner. Um, when like you said a little while ago, I'm a blessed bright spirit, as all of us are. Why would I be scurrying to the corner? Why couldn't I just stay and say, no, I'm okay. I'm gonna just stay right here. I don't have to run. There's nothing to run from. So we are
so one
yeah.
of the things one of the things I think of when I get to that place that you just described, which happens on a regular basis, and I think that it's my own hunch about life, is that nobody really escapes that conundrum. Even the most holy monk who ever lived, that we all were built this way. And it's in our DNA. And um, so I think um, I think there's something really powerful about, for me, there's been something really powerful about accepting the um, two steps forward and one step back, or three steps forward and two steps back. and accepting the fact that I fall short of where I want to be, throughout the day, many, many times, but I don't punish myself for that. And
Yeah, good.
I know that there are people who do, and I think it's really a misguided um, uh, way to respond. Um, like Thomas Keating says, one of his students says, "Oh, through my centering prayer, I was distracted, 10,000 times." And he said, well, 10,000 times opportunities to come back to God.
Mhm,
So,
mhm,
um, I've learned to be very accepting of myself. I've learned to, just today I was doing some work outside, which I love. And I'm just thinking about these ridiculous things that don't match up to my value system. And
mm,
um, they were, kind of critical of myself and others, and maybe a little judgmental of other people and maybe of myself, and also just kind of like replaying a conversation I had that was really very meaningless. I don't know why I was replaying that conversation. But I was, and I did this 2 weeks ago and 2 years ago and 20 years ago, and it's going to happen till I die. That's okay, because I have these times with you, and I have moments during the day where the spirit just breaks through, and I'm in astonishment at the trees and the wind, and um, and life all around me, and all the people that are in my life. I mean, and animals, and so
mm.
um, it's a wild ride, isn't it?
You think? Oh my God. I remember you said something earlier too about I don't know exactly how you said it, but something around what a relief it is to know that, we're not in charge. And it's a funny thing about that. It's really a very uh I want to use the word twisted thing that happens. So I remember one time somebody said that to me, like, Pat, it's such good news. You're not in charge. You're not in charge. And I'm like, it's good news, really? Really? And just for like a split second, I was like, great, I'm not in charge. That is good news. And then I'm ready. Wait a minute. No, no, no. I mean, it's just amazing what the ego does, with this thing about not being in charge and letting it go and surrender and all that. It's like it's a very funny thing the way we're wired, at least the way I'm wired, to not let myself off the hook, like, no, 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 you don't get to just say, yeah, somebody else is in charge. No, you got to get in there and stop messing around. It's just wow. But that split second of freedom where you go, oh wow, I'm off the hook. And then, no, you're not. You get back on that hook, damn you. It's so funny. It's really crazy stuff because I think if we could maintain that place of appreciating we're not in charge, gee, that sounds like it could be pretty dang nice. Wow, it's quite a conundrum.
Yeah, I think about it's a good thing I'm not in charge of technical things, because I hate technical things. I mean, we would be writing on with sticks on rocks or something if it was up to me.
But
Um,
Chris, it's all technical things.
yeah, I know. And it's a good thing I'm not in charge of, medical breakthroughs, because I'm just science and I just don't get along. So there's a lot of good things about not being in charge. And I look up at the night
It
sky,
totally is.
and I think, you know, look at there's just this little me here, and a galaxy of planets and stars and suns and moons. I mean, it's just blows my mind.
It's wild. Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
you have babies and you have love. And those are two other things that just blow me away.
Oh,
Any
here's a
kind of love.
crazy thought.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, this is a really crazy thought. If I had designed the universe, I would have forgot gravity. Like that would have been the thing I would have forgotten.
We'd all be floating around thanks to Pat.
Oh, shoot. Oh, man. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's the good news that, we're not in charge. And yet, jeekers, creepers, I don't know, culturally, I think we're really sort of schooled into, not sort of, we are schooled into being in charge and finding ways that we can change this and that. And of course, this, I get that. I get that advancements, I guess, are good. I wonder if I'm wondering if we never had advancement or progress, I guess is the word. We've progressed ourselves out of extinct. We've progressed ourselves into extinction.
Yeah, we've progressed ourselves right into out of progress. I mean, we're not progressing anymore, almost.
No, we didn't. The timing was all off. What would it have been if, what would this world look like if we were just happy with, okay, I think we needed the fire part. We had to get the fire. I'm pretty sure. But just why beyond fire? Why,
We need the air, we need fire, we need water. What else do we need?
and earth. We need the
Earth.
elements. Yeah, we need the elements, but do we need the Empire State Building? I mean, did we need that?
No, we don't.
I don't know. It's
The
just
answer
some
is no.
stupid thing. We didn't need the Empire State Building. We didn't need that.
But one thing that is good is we can do this. I mean, first of all, we have Zoom, which is, that would have been lost on me.
Yeah.
And we have a friendship that has gone on for several years. And we've only seen each other like twice in person.
Right. I think three.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
probably since 2017, we met on a retreat.
Yeah.
And 3 times, and we've talked to each other, I don't know, hundreds of times since then. Which is, I mean, I'm very grateful for that. I would not have done well in the teepee, which you have a tribe of
right.
10 families.
Yeah.
I would not have done well because the people that I bond with are few and far between.
Yeah, well, you'd head out the teepee door and maybe and then Joe the club schmo, the club being his middle name, would meet you out there in the woods and say, "Hey, let's go down the path. I'm gonna look at some foxes." And you'd be like, "Yeah, foxes. I love foxes."
Yeah, so that's true. And he would have had his horse, and I would have liked that.
Yeah. So we find our way. We do find our way.
So this thing about sovereignty is amazing. Reclaim your sovereignty.
Yeah.
So basically it's I'm going to run my own ship, right?
Yes. And he's saying that is our inalienable right to do that. And we've forgotten it. And the other thing he said is the question, and this could be a question that you would pose. It's almost like I could hear you saying this when he said it. Is this the most loving option for me right now? Am I offering myself the most loving option right now? Wow. Imagine if we asked ourselves that all the time, every day.
Yeah, I mean, I remember as a teenager, after going through a lot of struggle with an alcoholic mother and losing my father at an early age. Uh, yeah, asking myself, and throughout my life, is this what you want for yourself? That's
Mm.
been a turning point question for me.
And when you ask the question, who are you asking?
I'm asking myself, um, because I'm in control of me.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not in control of everything, but there's nobody else that's in control of how I think
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and how I choose to behave and where I want to put my energy. It's up to me.
Have you always been able to make that? Have you always been able to make that distinction?
Well, I went through some painful times before I came to that, but when I started to do it, almost instantly, it felt like the right thing, and it was.
I,
It was
of course
a
it was.
time of reckoning,
Yeah.
and I've also
So
watching my father die at the age of 53. I've always thought life is short, and
yeah,
if I die tomorrow, is this what I want my today to look like?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's time is precious, so
That's why we must reclaim our sovereignty.
that's right.
And, and I can't say that I followed that path that you just described. I think many times in my life I would, would look out there, see what the, environment was, what needed tending, what was going to, feed me out there. By that I mean make me feel like I was loved. This is classic codependent thinking. That my ability to say, what is it, how do how am I going to be loving to myself? Yeah, that was way down on the list. It's changed, of course, and things are better now. It's different. I mean, through the steps and other processes in my life, and also I'm older, and have had more experience. It's still down on the checklist though, and I'm trying to move it up. That's why this stuff what this fellow said, Panache said, had such impacted me so much. I was like, what? Become the caretaker of humanity. Okay, yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. Didn't even think of it that way. A lot of things are stacked up against that, but boy, you're right, Chris. I mean, that's the job. That's the job. That's
Well,
that's the
we do have a lot of um, gravitational pull away from is this what I want for myself right now?
mm,
Um, because when we're younger, we don't have control. We're not in charge of our own safety. I mean, we depend on our parents for a lot for our own survival. Um,
absolutely.
and then when we, get to be of, college age or whatever, getting out into the real world, you want to get away from your family because that's just a normal child or human development stage. But
Mm-hmm,
the
mm-hmm.
world is scary, and um, you have to have a lot of money um, to have the bare necessities. Um, so there's just all kinds of obstacles that we need to deal with when we get through life. But um, I try to it's hard to say though now because the older I've gotten, the more I'm at an age right now where I'm retired and I don't have the same worries that I used to have when I was a younger person. I had to get 3 kids through
Mm-hmm.
college, I had a career. So it's a very different thing now looking back.
Yeah,
But I do, what do you think the obstacles are to, what was it, being the caretaker of humanity? What do you think those obstacles are?
well, before we go there quickly, oh gosh, I lost my train of thought. Oh well. I know what it was. So Panache says, we are not, that little kid that couldn't say the things that we can say now, you must say them for that little child. You must say them. That little child couldn't do it, but you can. And so he points that out, just like you were just saying about the child. And what are the things that get in the way of being the caretaker of our humanity? Is that the question you said?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's probably pretty complex, and not complex at all. I mean, the way he's saying it, and he's saying, you know, stand up and be counted for that little kid that couldn't. No, you can. Now you can. Now you can do it. I mean, I think just saying the word the culture doesn't promote the humanity of each one of us in any promote doesn't sorry again
Support.
it doesn't support, but it's almost like this, the culture isn't about humanity blossoming at all. Yeah. It's really about keeping humanity down, the humanity of love, the humanity of connection, the humanity of meaning, belonging, all of that stuff. That's all just sort of not sort of, it's really, you got to really claim it. That's why what this fellow is saying seems so important, because he's saying you've got to claim this stuff. If you don't, it's going away. It's going away. So we are, what gets in the way is the culture, is to use one word, fitting in, making money could be included in there, because there are certain the places where one makes very good money, the corporate world. I don't think there's a lot of humanity there. I mean, again, that's pejorative. I'm sure there's very human, loving people in positions there, but it isn't about, hey, Joe, I'd really like to know who you are. Let's talk about what's going on for you in your life. And, how did you get here? How did you end up here? And
how's your heart?
Wherever. Amazon, I don't know. Sorry.
You're gonna buy a heart at Amazon?
There's no, yeah.
I'm sorry, we have a little delay.
Yeah, the ladder, the corporate ladder, the rung where you're supposed to talk about your humanity or express your humanity and grow your humanity, the rung for that is missing off the ladder. So you have to really jump over that and go up, because it actually, I believe that there's some kind of thinking in sort of the corporate world, and we didn't want to get into all this, but that there's no room for humanity there. It just gets in the way, because humanity will speak up and say, hey, that doesn't seem right to do that. We're not talking about what's right or wrong. We're talking about what works. And this is what works.
We have an obligation to our shareholders, and that's
yes.
And that's what's going to drive our decision making. It's very, very tough.
It's tough, and that trickles down. I mean, that kind of mindset trickles down. So when you find pockets of people that do what they call, some groups that are doing it's called the story that reconnects. So it's people talking about the basics of being a human being and what that means, and what the pain of that is and the joy of that is, and all the rest of those human things that make us this. That's been silenced. But it's awakening. I feel it is awakening. I think that's why it's relevant. We offer this little talk thing for those who want to hear a couple of people just chewing on, some compost. I think it's worthwhile. Like I said, even if it's just you and I,
Yeah,
we come away from this feeling heard and feeling that we're connecting.
that's right. And that's for me very, very valuable.
Yes, Chris, it's everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
also fun to try to fix the human condition.
It is, particularly when we don't even have any particular tools except for one important tool, the
Yes.
heart.
Yes.
And they cannot take our hearts. I remember reading, was it Elie Wiesel, what was him or another person in the concentration camp saying something along that. They can do anything they want to us, but they can't take away. I don't know if they said our hearts or whatever it was, but that was so just so amazing.
Very, very true. What a beautiful man.
Yeah. So what do you think?
Is it time to maybe have one final thought for our holy compost?
Yeah, let's hear. I'd like one from you, please.
Well, I'm just grateful that we can talk about these things. I was going to say try to make sense of them. I don't know that I put a great value on trying to make sense of things. I think that the mystery and the unknowing is much more enticing to me than making sense. And I don't even know if I could describe that.
What is
I just
sense
have
after all?
I have come to cherish the idea of not knowing, of surrendering my control to something that is worthy of it, which is the divine.
Yes.
And my I was gonna say there's no word for it. My religious or spiritual convictions are that um, there's very, very little structure to them. So I
Yeah.
don't have
Yeah.
I don't have a clear rule book. I don't have I don't have doctrine, although doctrine has been in my life and influenced me for the good or ill. I don't have any go-to manual for how to do this. What I do have is um, a, a conviction that comes through experience that there is a higher power, a benevolent, a loving, wise, compassionate higher power that is with me at all times, and it's only me that gets in the way of it, um, of me and it being in union together. So what I try to do is throughout my day is to surrender, 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 surrender. And it's a lovely mantra uh, because surrendering is what I need to do in order for the beloved to have consciousness in me or something like that. I really don't know how to describe it.
Yeah, like it's an allowing.
Yes, and
Um,
allowing
yeah,
something that's
yeah,
already there.
yeah, yeah. No, I like what you captured there, that there's no sort of strict rule about this is the way it has to work, and so on and so on. And yeah, because I think what you were saying, what I read in between there was with that allowing, all things are possible, and yeah, without the allowing, very little is possible. So
Because without the
I think that's
allowing,
really,
there's only control.
yeah,
And even though control
yeah.
sometimes feels good in the short term, it's a very vacant way to live for me.
It's very vacant. And what my experience of control is, because it's been an issue for me for sure, is it gets hungrier and hungrier and hungrier, and you cannot keep up with feeding the thing. It's just amazing.
That's a
It's a
great way
bottomless,
of putting it.
pit. It's a bottomless pit.
Yeah, I envision a big bag of dog food, and the beast getting hungrier and hungrier, and just having to lug home these 50-pound bags of dog food over and over again, and it never gets satisfied.
The only way you can even come close is to live next door to the dog food factory.
Right.
And nobody wants to do that. Oh, so good to see you, Chris. And so really so important to have these conversations.
Yeah, they're precious to me, and I'm very, very grateful. So on that wonderful note, we'll say hasta la vista until our next Holy Compost.
Absolutely. I'll be there.
Okay. Let me just
Take
get
care.
this recording.